I had 100 subs for every time I woke up somewhere other than my house, I'd be making money off this stuff by now. Who is it this time?
Oh, that's surprisingly direct. Do you know why you're here?
Dude, I don't even know who you are, let alone why I'm here.
Oh, of course. Well, as it turns out, you broke the algorithm.
What?
We think.
You think? Well, which one is it?
Well, that's the thing, we don't know. You told Neil to take it up with the algorithm, so he literally threw a wrench at it, and it didn't look like it did anything, but you never know.
Like a physical wrench.
Yep.
And the algorithm is a physical thing.
Uh-huh.
That you can throw wrenches at.
Kinda. The algorithm is sort of a non-Euclidean mass, so you can technically throw stuff in its perceived direction, but not at it specifically.
Sorry, that's just a lot to unpack.
No, I get it. Most humans go completely insane when they learn the truth. I mean, what do you think happened to Shane Dawson?
Okay, so what do you want with me?
Nothing at the moment. Just make videos like you usually would. People like holiday specials. Try making a Halloween video. Ooh, what about Bloodrayne? I remember people loving that series back in the day.
Fine, Bloodrayne it is. Oh, by the way, what did you guys do with Sonic? He gets anxious if he's left alone too long.
Oh, don't worry. We kept him occupied.
I don't get it.
Hey there, Pyromaniacs. Who remembers Bloodrayne? That's what I thought. It's honestly kinda crazy how little this series is talked about these days. The series was never a major hit or anything, but it definitely made its mark on the industry. But just as quickly as it popped up, it completely vanished. The game was made by Terminal Reality and published by Majesco. It was a spiritual successor to Terminal's last game, Nocturne. No, not that one. In fact, Bloodrayne actually started development as a sequel to Nocturne. That being said, while Nocturne was a survival horror game, taking many influences from Silent Hill and Resident Evil, Bloodrayne took more of an action approach. Honestly, a lot of this game's development sounds shockingly similar to the development of Devil May Cry, considering that game also started development as a survival horror-focused Resident Evil game before slowly transitioning into a hack and slash. While Bloodrayne wasn't as popular as its contemporaries, it still had an impressive multimedia catalog. It got 2 sequels, a trilogy of film adaptations, a short-lived comic book series, and... Rain, the game's protagonist, was the first video game character to show up topless in Playboy. Yeah, it can't be ignored that a big proponent for this game's success was the protagonist's appeal. This was during the era of games like Dead or Alive Beach Volleyball and Leisure Suit Larry. Video games were still very much for the bros. Girls can't play video games. Go play with your Barbies or My Little Ponies or something girly. This led to a lot of business decisions that would eventually lead to Anita Sarkeesian making a career off of complaining about it.
Dated joke alert! Dated joke alert!
Oh, son of a... With all that said, was Bloodrayne actually good, or was it just the suggestive marketing that sold the game to a bunch of hormonal teenage boys? Did this series actually deserve better, or was its sudden disappearance from the cultural zeitgeist warranted? Let's take a look at the first game and find out. Bloodrayne begins with the introduction of the titular character, Rain, voiced by Laura Bailey, who you may know as the voice of Kid Trunks in Dragon Ball, the default voice in Saints Row 3, Mary Jane in Spider-Man PS4, Abby in The Last of Us 2, and basically every other video game you've ever interacted with for the past 20 years. Laura Bailey is one of those voice actors that feel like they're just in everything. She's up there with people like Nolan North and Yuri Lowenthal, so it's interesting knowing that this game was actually her first time doing voice work in a video game. It does make this game kind of a historical landmark. Anyway, Rain is a Dhampir, half human and half vampire, which gives her the strengths of a vampire without the weaknesses. She can go out during the day, water only causes minor burns rather than death, and holy artifacts have no effect on her. While searching for her long-lost father, she is found and recruited by a shadowy organization of vampires known as the Brimstone Society, an organization that investigates and thwarts supernatural threats from around the world. She's partnered with another Dhampir, Mince, who... Good lord, woman! She acts as Rain's mentor, teaching her how to hone her vampiric abilities. In other words, she acts as this game's tutorial guide. The game starts with Rain and Mince investigating the bayous of Louisiana, as there have been reports of strange mutants in the area being created from some mysterious disease. Rain is then tasked with killing the creatures spreading the disease and bringing any surviving humans to the Graveyard Mausoleum. So let's quickly talk about the gameplay. It's good? It's a pretty basic combat system for the most part. The game is a hack and slash with shooter and platformer elements. You can play the game like a button masher, but it'll be way easier if you get acquainted to all the mechanics. You have a basic melee attack, but there are also guns you can pick up and use as well. Ammo is pretty limited though, so you'll be alternating between the two constantly during gameplay, which helps keep you on your toes throughout. The gunplay is pretty simple. Rain automatically locks on to the nearest enemy, so all you have to do is shoot whatever is nearest until it dies. Melee combat is somehow even simpler. For the most part, you just mash the attack button and Rain will automatically perform a combo. As you progress through the game, Rain's combos will get longer as you unlock new moves when completing different objectives. Considering Rain is still part vampire, she does need a steady supply of blood to stay alive, which is where your grapple move comes in. With a press of a button, Rain will grab onto the nearest humanoid enemy to drink their blood and restore her health. This also acts as a way to protect yourself from oncoming attacks, as you essentially use the enemy you're drinking as a meat shield. Not long into the game, you also get a harpoon, which allows you to pull enemies in for feeding. The trade-off for the long range, though, is that it leaves you open for attacks, but I still like doing it because it makes me feel like Scorpion. I do wish that melee attacks locked onto enemies like the range attacks do, because it can be hard to tell if your attacks are landing a lot of the time. There can be so much happening on the screen at once that the feedback from attacks can be hard for some to notice. You also have a meter where once it fills up, you can activate Blood Rage, which slows down time and boosts the damage you can deal. After rescuing all the survivors, Rain comes back just in time to witness this. Okay, so like she's dead, right? Like vampire or not, Mince died here. Can we all agree to that? Good. So from here, the game skips forward 5 years into the heat of World War II. And yes, this is where you think this is going. From here, for the majority of the game, you're fighting bad German boys and bad German boys zombies. Specifically, Rain has been assigned to take out the Gegengeist Group, or GGG for short. They wanted to call themselves G-Unit, but they realized they'd have to take it up with Fitty. The rest of the game has you hunting down GGG officers to get to their leader, Jurgen Wolf, and his mysterious second-in-command, It's Mince. I don't usually like spoiling stories of the games I talk about, but it's Mince. And the game doesn't do a very good job hiding that it's Mince. And I won't tell you any more than that, because the simple fact that she's alive is the least bizarre thing about this game's story. As you hunt down these officers, you're introduced to an impressive variety of enemies to fight. So often in these types of games, especially from this time, you only get a handful of enemies that you fight over and over again. And while this game does have a tendency to fill the room with a single character model that you have to kill over and over again, it also does a good job at keeping you on your toes by introducing new enemies throughout for you to rip and tear. Although most of the human enemies do just kind of boil down to hitting them until they fall down or sucking them dry as you listen to Laura Bailey make some very interesting noises. Honestly, if the fan service doesn't bother you, Bloodrayne is definitely worth your time. It's jank and some of it is definitely aged poorly, but in general, it's a Nazi-killing, blood-sucking good time, and I can definitely see how it garnered such a cult following. So, what happened? How do we go from a modestly successful multimedia franchise to an obscure relic of gaming history? Well, first of all, the movies sucked. They were all directed by Uwe Boll, who's a notoriously bad director famous for purchasing a license of video game properties to tack on a generic low-budget action movies, in hopes of turning a quick profit through brand recognition and tax benefits through the German government. Just to give you a little taste of this guy's talent for filmmaking, he also made a parody version of his third Bloodrayne movie that he called Blubberella. The joke is that instead of a sexy vampire lady, it's a fat chick. And that makes it funny. As far as the games are concerned, though, there's a surprising lack of information out there. From what I can tell, the death of Bloodrayne seems to be a jungle of leadership changes and business acquisitions. After Bloodrayne 2, Terminal Reality seemed to switch to the position of a support studio, with the only fully in-house projects being licensed titles like The Walking Dead Survival Instinct, which was also, sadly, the last game they made before going defunct in 2013. Meanwhile, Majesco seems more interested in publishing smaller budget indies and mobile titles in recent years. There was an attempt to revive the series by the Kings reviving long-dead IPs way forward back in 2011 with Bloodrayne Betrayal, which acted as a soft reboot of sorts. Sadly though, Betrayal was given a middling reception, so a full revival was sadly not pursued by Majesco. That being said, there's still a possibility that the dead may rise again very soon, because in 2020 a fledgling company known as Ziggurat Interactive started buying up dormant IPs from other companies, including Bloodrayne from Majesco. And also, Advent Rising for some reason. In 2021, Ziggurat released remasters of all 3 Bloodrayne games on modern hardware. As far as I see it, this could mean one of 2 things. Either we could get a Night Dive and System Shock situation where a small company buys a long-dead IP and breathes new life into it through a passion project of epic proportions, or we could get a Gearbox and Duke Nukem situation where we get absolutely nothing. While I'm skeptical of Ziggurat with them being a young company and all, I do hope it's the former, because despite the franchise's flaws, I do think it deserves a comeback. This series isn't all sex appeal like I've assumed was the case over the years. It's also really fun. If a series like Bayonetta can survive in this day and age, I see no reason why Bloodrayne shouldn't also get a day in the sun, or, I guess, moonlight, as well. I talked about boobs, Nazis, gore, guns. This video's getting demonetized for sure.
Yep, that's what we're here to find out.
What?
First experiment. See what it takes for a small channel to get demonetized. Now we just wait for the results.
You're using me as a guinea pig?
Yep, basically.
Oh, screw this. Just take me home, you lunatic.
Wait, what? You are home. This is your basement. Wait, did you think we kidnapped you? Dude, we may be a shadowy inner circle, but we're not evil.
You're kidding.
Go, look upstairs.
Hey, Pyro, come look at this funny Toll Guy video.
Oh, you sons of b- Thanks for watching. If you like this video, leave a like and become a pyromaniac yourself by subscribing. Until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.